Now we're going to talk about limiting nutrients. So it is exactly what it sounds like. Nutrients in an environment are things that help to allow growth. And the more nutrients, the more growth. And so as an ecologist, if you're trying to make an ecosystem healthy, you might be tempted to say, hey, I want my ecosystem to be healthy. Let's increase how many nutrients there are. So for example, here's a body of water, and the limiting nutrient is basically the nutrient that is in short supply. You might be tempted to add a whole bunch of nitrogen. So maybe we would just dump a whole bunch of fertilizer poop from fields into, so here's a field over here. And maybe we'll just allow the field to run off, and nitrogen can go into the water. Sorry, my roommate distracted me. So let me pause while he cusses at his computer screen. I think he's done. Okay, so the nitrogen is going to come off of the field. You might be tempted to allow that because it's in short supply, right? So you think, oh, I should let the limiting nutrient increase. But here's the problem. When you allow a limiting nutrient to increase, you allow life to flourish. So more limiting nutrients means more life of some sort. And so what we get here is an imbalance. The limiting nutrient keeps life at a certain limit. So for example, here we have a whole bunch of algae. And that algae is important for the environment. It is a food source for things like clams and oysters and other organisms. But too much of it can actually be harmful. And that is because this particular type of protist / plant weird organism, it actually, unlike other plants, it actually takes in oxygen. And so when you increase nitrogen, when you add nitrogen, you are actually going to decrease the amount of oxygen. And so with no oxygen, all the fish have to swim away, all the clams and oysters die, and the ecosystem starts to just fall apart. And so it's important to have an understanding of limiting nutrients. Because when you have things where they're supposed to be, you are at equilibrium. At a certain amount of nitrogen in the water, this ecosystem is in equilibrium. But when you increase it too much, populations start to surge beyond the normal limit. And that can be a stress on the environment. And so this is a big thing that we study on the Eastern Shore of Virginia, where we are very careful about fields and the runoff from those fields. Because we put fertilizer on our fields, and that can go into our water if we're not careful. And that can cause these big algae blooms, which decreases oxygen, and then all the little fishies, they swim away. And all the little clams and all the oysters die. So usually we want to make sure that we are maintaining, where did it go? Equilibrium by not increasing a limiting nutrient.